Now, big picture-wise, where are you for the series after Game 1? Because, coming into the series, I felt like this was going to go Celtics in 6. And I remember not so much your reaction because you actually saw the vision. You said Celtics in 5, but you at least understood my reasoning.
Yeah.
But a lot of people that I shared that same sentiment with was like, 6? It shouldn't take that to beat this Pacers team. And if you remember, my whole premise was the Celtics are due for one clunker. We know, where they just don't show up. They're mentally not into it. They don't shoot well, whatevs. Joe Mazzulla messes up, whatever it is, right? They'll lose that just on GP. But then I was giving credit to the Pacers coming into this series. I thought because of their style, their youthful exuberance, the up-tempo way in which they played. In fact, after Game 1, we played some sound here on the show, but a lot of the post-game that I heard later was, listen, those guys are fast. The Celtics were saying, we need to adjust to their tempo. I thought that coming in, that the Pacers would sort of impose their will in that way because I watched them do it to the Knicks. So I just felt like they were good enough to win one on their own accord, and then the Celtics were due a blunder. After Game 1, I don't feel any reason to change my prediction at all. I still feel as though this series is going to go 6 games. Now, at the same time, in the same breath, I could see how losing Game 1 the way the Pacers did with the choke job could be so demoralizing, George, that it's hard to bounce back from that, especially a young team, especially on the road. But, again, they are great at home. Their style in which they play is very Celtics-like, so I think that's a good matchup for the Pacers. I wouldn't be shocked if we go back to Indy and they win too, and even the series up, and then we're all – did you see your reaction? We all lose our minds, and the Celtics still remain in control and win the series. But this feels, especially after Game 1, if anything, I'm now more convinced that this series is going to be dicey. I really am. I think this is going 6, and they're going to all be competitive, and it's going to drive us absolutely bat-you-know-what crazy.
The Pacers wouldn't have been in the situation that we're late in the game without Tyrese Halliburton with 2 buzzer beaters before the half and at the end of the third.
That's right.
And that third quarter, the one before the half was a prayer, pretty much at midcourt. The one before the end of the third quarter, right before, was just like a double pump 3 with someone in his face.
Yeah.
Miles Turner was going off as well, shooting from deep but taking over offensively. The thing with this Pacers team is they wouldn't be in that spot without hitting those shots. But that also shows just the naive, young confidence they have, where no shot's a bad shot.
Right.
So if the Celtics build up a 15, 20-point lead, where they take their foot off the gas, and it's the modern NBA now, that lead will disappear so quick because of what the Pacers bring offensively. Now, the lead will build back up because they can't defend. Mm-hmm. And that's what's going to make this a much closer series than a lot of people anticipated. But seeing everything that went right for the Pacers in Game 1.
Right-ish.
I had to think about it for a second, but right for them Game 1, Celtics with 15 turnovers.
Yeah.
Jason Tatum missing all those shots, like Derek White missing a bunny, right? Mm-hmm. Even that Jaylen Brown 3 was an awful look. Like, that's the shot you go with, but it fell. So credit to JB. Put himself in a situation to get fouled, which he was and wasn't called. I just think that was the game for the Pacers.
Yeah.
So that switched for me. I was on board with you. I said Celtics in 6 because I think the Pacers and Rick Carlisle could steal a game. But the Pacers and Rick Carlisle gave away a game.
That was the game.
I think it's Celtics in 5
Okay.
now. It's tough to ever say any NBA series is going to be a sweep.
Yeah.
I don't care about the talent, the mismatches, whatever. It's still the NBA,
yeah.
right? But I think in this one, that was the game for the Pacers. They win that. Chests are puffed up more confidence in everything they do. Maybe it wakes them up more to execute defensively and actually have a wherewithal of what they're doing there. But this deflates them. You're walking back to the locker room, heads down. You did everything right in your Pacers brand of basketball, and your confidence in Tyrese Halliburton goes down a little bit.
Okay.
With both of those bad turnovers, between him and Nembhard, 4 turnovers in the final minute of fourth quarter and overtime combined. But I'm talking like awful, awful, awful. And even the ghost of Drew Holiday is haunting Halliburton in his face. I'm just saying, when your best player, who is Hallie and Pascal Siakam and Turner, that's your big 3. But when the guy that you put the ball in his hand so much, like, he's just not showing the IQ and execution you need. Dude, the shot at the end of regulation by Halliburton, where you just needed a bucket, and he went straight line beyond the 3-point line, got to the wing, right in front of the Celtics bench, And then Jason Tatum just draped all over and put up you just need a shot. Go make some contact. Go to the free throw line. You need one. It's just the late game execution isn't there for the Pacers. And the Celtics showed they can execute late, but also it was given to them. It's just this Pacers team is so bad and so low IQ that's why I think it's Celtics in 5.
Let me play devil's advocate here because I agree with you in that likely the Pacers could come out here for game 2 tonight and just be deflated. Likely. Right? And we would all understand that. Again, going back to a young, inexperienced team, that's why that's more likely than not. But there is a flip side to the coin where, listen, their coach is a veteran. Their coach has been there, done that. He could really get in this team's psyche and actually turn game 1 into a moral victory in the sense of, guys, we gave that game away. Turnovers, stupid stuff late. I mean, look, I think they could come out game 2 tonight and be a problem and still have their chest poked out, George, and still feel like, yeah, you're right. That was a game we should have stole and won. We didn't, so we got to get this one. They have to get one in Boston at some point, right? I would – now, let me ask you this. Would you be shocked if the Pacers win this game tonight? Because I would not.
I would be because of how bad that loss was in game 1.
Okay, because you think they'll be demoralized.
Because of how poorly they just crap that all away. With the awful execution, the bad turnovers.
Yeah.
And it is like that was our game against a superiorly talented team.
Sure.
And now the Celtics going from seeing a bad offensive Heat team, a bad offensive Cavs team who was without D. Mitch, Karis LeVert, and Jared Allen, right? Now they saw this high-octane offense and attack coming their way. And that was their first game, like, settle down. Okay, now we know what we're going to see. We see the pace they play, makes, misses, how quickly they get up the court. All right, we got that first taste. We know what to do to adjust. The Celtics are athletic enough. They defend well enough.
Yes.
And they're smart enough with leadership that they'll make the adjustment. So this is to me as the Celtics. I went and laid the points. You know, when I went to overtime, I'm like, nice, Celtics will win by 10 now.
Right.
Cover for me. I'm going to go back and lay the points game 2 Celtics because they got that first piece, that first feel of a Pacers attack. Now they don't have to make the adjustments.
I may be interested other side of that bet. What's that line on that? Look, I'm going here. Why I say I wouldn't be shocked, George, is credit to Rick Carlisle for maybe taking the approach that I brought up. Maybe he says, listen, guys, we gave that game away. Stupid turnovers. We weren't a great late game as we should have been. You saw him after that game take full responsibility. This is on me. That's what great coaches do. We know damn well it's Tyrese Halliburton's fault, okay? But Rick Carlisle.
Good for Rick Carlisle.
That's right. That's what great coaches do. So some of me thinks if they come out, they're ready to rock and roll, they're galvanized, and they do take the game 1 loss as a moral victory. We can do this if we clean up our act and get our you-know-what together. I would not be shocked with a Pacers game 2 win, but that's credit to Rick Carlisle, which I know and I've seen with thine eyes. Where I can't have credit and expectations is Tyrese Halliburton, who was absolutely atrocious down the stretch of that game. How does he bounce back? We don't know because we haven't seen him in this scenario yet. So this is how you build your resume as a young star. Let's see how he bounces back. If he bounces back in a big way, they could win game 2. I saw this happen against the Knicks. He had a game, he was terrible. He had like 6 points, a bunch of turnovers. So now we're seeing a pattern with this kid where he has games where it's not so great, but he did bounce back in that series, come back, and really finish the Knicks. So we'll see. I would not be shocked if the Pacers at least cover in game 2.